Thank you to all the amazing guests and providers who have helped make the Consult Before the Cut possible.
And thank you to our loyal viewers, subscribers, and followers. Your support means everything to us.
We're so excited to celebrate our 50th episode with you, and we can't wait for what's coming next.
Welcome to the Consult Before the Cut, your go-to podcast for all things anti-aging, aesthetics, and plastic surgery. I'm Dr. Jonathan Weiler, a board-certified plastic surgeon with over 15 years of experience.
I am Taylor Besh, physician's assistant and expert injector at Weiler Plastic Surgery.
And I'm Brittany DeSherry, nurse and COO over at Rejuvime Medical. Each week, we'll dive deep into the latest trends, expert insights, and real stories from the world of beauty and wellness. So grab a seat at the consult room and let's discover the secrets of timeless beauty together. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Consult Before the Cut. It's not just me this week. Look who's
Not
back.
just solo.
I'm not solo.
Back in the house.
Just hanging me out to dry.
I think you covered the ship pretty well.
We had it.
You have no lack of talking. So.
Before we get started, I always want to thank our sponsors, Rejuvime Medical, your age-defined clinic for all things HRT, GLP-1s, aesthetics, just feeling better.
Mm-hmm.
We are all over the state of peptides, all the things.
Yep.
All across the state of Louisiana. 12 locations now. Lafayette has opened. So we have 11 in Louisiana and 1 in D'Iberville, Mississippi. And we also would like to thank Weiler Plastic Surgery Group, the largest plastic surgery practice in Louisiana, with 5 board-certified surgeons, a million
Plastic surgeons,
a million aesthetic injectors, expert aesthetic injectors, so many estheticians, everyone that can get you feeling and looking absolutely amazing.
Absolutely.
All across the Gulf South, huh?
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. In the Louisiana.
Taking over the world.
I know, taking over the world. Just
one state at a time.
Just one state at a time. But no, I always want to thank them. And we do have a super exciting show today.
Yep.
We have Mr. Eddie Kennison here with us this morning.
Yay.
How are you?
Doing great.
Yep.
Thank y'all for having me. I'm telling y'all now, Doc, I may have to go get my nurse practitioner's license. I'm telling you, man, this is a fun group, brother. Thank y'all for having me.
I
on,
appreciate
man.
that.
Yeah.
I appreciate
So glad you're here.
I know, you got to be a little
Celebrity in
crazy.
the house.
Though, you got to be a little crazy to be in this group.
I used to be a punt returner and kick returner.
Yeah.
I'm a little crazy.
That is
That's
insane.
it.
Every time I watch that, I'm like, God.
I know, you want to cry.
So we were talking before, we came onto the Taylor, you just survived the school fair.
Yes, we had our lovely, precious, exhausting fair that you spend a very pretty penny, eating all the crap, chasing all the children.
It'd be easier if you just walked in, cut a check, and left and relaxed for the weekend.
Truly.
Right?
Or go on like an amazing vacation.
Right.
I mean,
It's expensive.
Fair weekend, I will say last year or the year before that, Josh was out of town for the fair.
No.
For work.
No,
and
thank you.
I was like, this is how I die at the age of
It
36.
shows that I
was like, this is
need
it.
all the things Rejuvime because I have been dragging. After Botox last week and then the fair, I am like dead this week.
Botox.
Yeah.
What'd you dress up as?
All the things.
Oh, yeah?
I saw you as a witch, I believe.
We are in the middle of the costume contest.
Costume contest.
And y'all, it's so fun.
So, Eddie, every year, Taylor invented this event that's called Botox, which is sort of a mixture of Halloween and Botox.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it started as just her, right, in one office, and now it's throughout South Louisiana. Almost 3,000 patients come in a span of a week and get their filler and Botox. And our staff does a costume contest, right? And it's pretty good because I like games, or I like to give things away. So the winner gets a 7-day trip.
He likes to hype it up.
The competition.
Paid 7-day trip anywhere in the Caribbean or South America or even North America. Second place gets a 5-day trip. So some of the costumes these ladies come up with
It's the wildest
insane.
thing.
Amazing.
It's amazing. It truly is.
It is. And so they have a winner in each clinic, right? Because we have a special day in each clinic. And then the winners go online to Instagram and the public votes.
So the voting is happening now.
And Grace is gonna have to put these. Grace is gonna have to put these on so you can kind of see. Look at that.
Yeah. I mean, some of these ladies, like they're at work for 7:30. They'll get up at 3 and do their makeup.
Yeah. Truly.
And truly, it's crazy. It's
whoever the genie was, who the genie dressed
From
up like Genie
Aladdin.
from Aladdin,
Yeah.
was like the great.
Amazing.
I
I
was
know.
like, this is so good.
Like you think men are competitive with like sports?
Right.
Women dress up like for a contest for a prize.
Yep.
Well, yeah, you
Costumes
tell
or-
me like, hey, I'll pay you to go on vacation for 7 days. If you throw a costume on, I'd be like, done.
I'm in.
I'd be like, I'm all in. I would do
So
that.
Eddie, I want to know all the things about you. I see you're from Lake Charles.
Born and raised in Lake Charles.
Born and raised. Did you know Justin Vincent?
I know Justin Vincent very well.
Sweet darling.
Yep.
So you are obviously a little older than him, but did y'all know each other, families in Lake Charles, or just from LSU?
Just from LSU.
Okay.
Yeah, and as I was going through LSU, and after I left way before Justin came in, but I knew of him. You know, Lake Charles is about the size of this office, right? And so we know everyone that's there. So
That's
through
so
high school
cool.
football, hearing his name, and and now we're the best of friends.
That's
to
so
this day.
wonderful.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. So from Lake Charles,
You went to, what is that, Barb?
Yeah, that's-
is
Justin went to Barb.
Justin went to
I
Barb.
went to
Where'd you
the Washington Marion Magnet High School. Thank you very much.
I was just trying to think of like, what high school's in Lake Charles? I was trying to think. I was
Barb
there the
is
other
what you
day.
would hear of,
Yeah,
but this
yeah.
is obviously
This is where
Yes.
legends are made.
This is where legends are made.
This is where
That's
legends
right.
are made. I love that.
Do you still have family in Lake Charles?
Yeah, mom and dad are still
Okay.
there.
Okay.
Cousins, aunts, uncles,
Wow.
all of those fun people.
We did the grand opening in Lake Charles for Rejuvime, and Eddie
yeah.
came, and
awesome.
like the mayor's like, hey, like a man of
Talk
the
about
people.
a celebrity
Yeah.
in a
Oh, yeah.
Man
town.
of the people. You probably do. You have a key to the city yet?
Not yet.
Oh, I'm gonna petition for it.
I say petition. Do
I
it.
would do
Britt,
it.
Britt
I
will
would
get
do
it done. Trust
Oh,
me.
give me. I was about
Be
to
careful what you
say,
ask for.
give me until this afternoon. We'll get you a key to Lake Charles.
I can give you the mayor's personal
See,
number.
thank you. That's
He'll
right.
hate
We're
you
gonna
for
get
that.
it. We're gonna get it. So okay, so from Lake Charles, mom and dad still there and everything like that. You get to go to LSU.
Yes.
Is that
Yep.
now? Did you always want to go to LSU, or was there
Yeah,
another
was
college
talk
that you
about
wanted
a little
to
bit,
go
and
to?
I'm going to geek out a little bit, but talk about a little bit like the recruiting process. This is the early 90s, late 80s,
Early
right?
90s,
Ooh,
bro.
The good
Wild.
old days, right?
Yes.
Before
And
the craziness of
When you had like snail mail and all of the letters would show up to the house.
Run home
and-
for the mailbox and you got 50 letters, right?
Oh man, it was. I mean, because we had bag phones and pagers, so they couldn't get in contact with us. And I think the rules were. I know the rules were a lot more strict back then. So I mean, I still have boxes and boxes of letters to this day because I wanted to show my family at some point, like if I had kids, which I do have 3 boys, but those letters are still there. Recruited by every major university across the country. And I chose.
gives me chill bumps.
Oh.
That's so cool.
That's so neat.
so
It's
cool.
fun. You guys going to bring me back down memory lane. So if I'm,
No,
just,
we're
if I get
here for
emotional-
it.
Yeah.
I love it.
So I was recruited by everyone, but I chose to go to Michigan for a visit, Texas A&M, Florida State, and then ultimately LSU. And I'll tell you the backstory of that so it doesn't bore you at the beginning. Michigan was my first trip. It was in December.
Oh.
Way too cold. I stepped off the airplane.
It's a little
this
chilly
old
this morning,
country boy.
Louisiana.
Yeah,
Right.
like, no,
This
thank
old
you.
country boy from Lake Charles. I stepped off the plane. I'm like, this is where I'm not going to school. I mean, that Friday. Did the visit, come back home, and I ultimately get to Florida State. And I get to Florida State on Friday. And
And that was Bobby Bowden, heyday of Florida
yes.
State.
Oh,
yeah.
brother. I'm talking about had a team. And my host, they had a party set up on the beach that night. And I committed to Florida State that night. I'm like, this is where
You're
I'm
like,
coming.
yes, absolutely. Beach party, sign me up. Let's
That's right.
go.
Yep.
And LSU wasn't even on my
Radar.
list. But here's how it happened. Saturday morning, I have a meeting with Coach, the head coach at the time, and I'm sitting like here, and his door to come in is behind me, and he walks in behind me and he says, "Mike, I'm sure glad you're going to be a Seminole." And I'm a guy like, I understand mistakes and all that, but I was 17, 18 years old at the time. And I'm like, hey, coach, my name is not Mike. And you know what? I'm not coming to Florida State.
Right.
I mean, I know we make mistakes. We're human. But in that moment right there, brother, I just felt so violated because the head coach didn't know my name.
Yeah.
And maybe it was a mistake. So I called my high school head coach, Robert Laverne, and I was like, you know what, coach? I know LSU's been recruiting. I'm tired of this process. Call Curly Harmon. I'm going to go for a visit to LSU next weekend. That was on Saturday. On Tuesday, Curly Harmon and Larry Edmondson, who's the wide receiver coach, they showed up at my house on Tuesday. And I took my official visit that Friday to LSU, and it was Katie Barnador. Here
way.
we are.
That's crazy.
I bet that Florida State coach is like
18 years old, and you knew that was like violating to you. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Well, and I appreciate that. You know, I'm just one of those guys. I'm not an overthinker, but I am in the moment type of person.
Yeah.
And I've made mistakes in the moment myself, and I get that process. But at that point in time, that critical decision for me to make that, you know, he would eventually have known my name, but you know, he didn't at the moment. So
if you had another detail, if it's not that important to him at that moment.
That's right. And my father's a military guy as well, so
really?
everything is like, you know, it's on point. If I screw this up in the middle of war, my dad, Desert Storm, you know, Vietnam. So if I screw this up in the moment, we're all taken out. So my mentality has always been that, you know, let's detail right now.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love that. And then, you know, just living as a tiger.
That's right.
Now
and I'm loving every minute. I thank God every day that, you know, I'm forever LSU, and it doesn't get any better than this.
So, DiNardo?
I had Curly Harmon
for
my first 2 years, and then Jerry DiNardo my last year, my junior year. Yeah.
I should have called my Brett before to get the bad stories on. I could have had some tea.
You know, back then, you know, things that were said and done in the locker room, they stayed in the locker room, and they will stay.
It was a different time, right? No cell phones.
Even when
I mean, I think cell phones had just sort of came out. Pagers were out there, but you know, I mean, you grew up back in the day where, you know, if you didn't have a call waiting, you had to drive or bike over to the house and knock on the door to see if anybody's home. So
that's right.
Gosh,
it was
the
a
good
lot
old
different
days.
back then.
even when I was in college and stuff, we would take pictures on like a digital camera. So you could go back and review and delete, you know, like, you know, it wasn't like we weren't taking pictures on our phone. We all had razors.
So talk a little bit about your experience, LSU football, early 90s, playing in Tiger Stadium. I mean,
brother. I mean, and even to this day, back then it was like 84,000 in the early 90s when we played. And our fans have always been the fans that show up, you know, to every home game. And we were not good in 93, 94. We just didn't have a good football team. But our LSU fans, they stayed showing up, and we always got excited to go play in Tiger Stadium. And just recently, I think it was 2 years ago, we played Army. And we had a nice flyover, and I'm standing next to the goalpost where the team runs out, and I'm literally just I'm crying, you know, not like hard down ugly cry, but tears were falling down my face, and I had to gather myself. I was like, hey, dude, you're not playing. Right. You're here to cheer the team on, but just that feeling of the team running out, and I'm getting chill bumps right now just thinking about it. Wow. And I just said, come on back, guy. You're a fan today, man. You're not playing. So the forever LSU, when guys talk about it or when the teams talk about it, it is truly that, because we've always been welcome to come back and be a part of LSU sports, and in particularly football and track. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Well, you did track at LSU.
And you had an amazing track. I mean, you had an amazing track career. Talk to us about that. I mean, that's something that LSU is.
Wait, while at LSU, you did both?
It was six-time
All-American in track.
That's it.
One of the fastest men in Louisiana.
In his spare time, for football, he, you know, just dominated in track and field.
Oh my gosh! Wow.
Yeah, it was fun. My freshman year, we won the national championship in a 4x1. I was a scratch leg on a 4x1, and went on to, you know, run some great track meets around the country, and got to meet some great people around the country. And in 1996, the Olympics were in Atlanta, and I pre-qualified, you know, for the Olympics in Atlanta.
Wow.
But I was also drafted to the National Football League that year.
My gosh.
And I wish I would have known then what I know now, because I would have went run for USA and then went back to football. But track at the time for U.S. athletes, they were not paying a whole lot of money. And football, you know, they had just wrote me this huge check. I'm like,
I can't do that.
You know, I wish I would have had someone to say, hey, dude, this is a once in a lifetime opportunity. Football is going to be there. I didn't have anyone to really say that. You know, I was changing the trajectory of my family. I was like, okay, we got to go do some other things. But I wish I would have ran in the Olympics that year. Yeah.
That's so crazy.
So did you get to LSU and you're like, the coaches are like, you run insanely fast, go do track, or you knew you wanted to do track?
I knew I wanted to do track. That was
You did track
my
in high
deal.
school?
I did.
Yeah.
I ran track in high school as
that's
well.
pretty awesome.
So in recruiting, it was like, okay, I know I'm going to play football, but I'm also going to run track. And every coach that I talked to, I'm like, do you have a problem with this? And there was a few coaches who said, yeah, we just want you to focus on football. And I knew exactly I was not going to that school. Right. And I'll tell you a backstory. When Jerry DiNardo came in, because I never did spring football practice. And when Jerry came in, Jerry brought me to his office and he was like, yeah, I know you did this before, but you're a football guy and you're no longer going to run track. And back then I was a cursing guy. I was a little bit more upfront. I was a little bit more, so we exchanged.
Spunky.
Yo, I was spunky. Yeah, that was me. That was it. And so we had a deal back and forth, and that was my junior year. And that was part of the reason I left as a junior, because Jerry DiNardo and I, we did not see eye to eye during that time. So,
wow.
But needless to say, I still ran track because I didn't care what was going on over there. So,
Well, that was like
you
back
could
when
still be drafted as a junior?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And for the National Football League, for football, you have to go through your junior year.
Oh,
Okay, so that's the earliest.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, because you think about
So
baseball,
fun.
it's easier, right? Football, you go into the National Football League, you're playing against grown men that are 300-400 pounds, and you take a 19-year-old kid to try to put him in that environment, it'll just ruin him pretty quickly.
Yeah.
I'm like,
This is so fun.
I know.
Okay, what next do you have to ask?
I'm like, this is so crazy.
Okay, so you get drafted.
All right, so how was?
Well, talk to us about the draft experience.
yeah,
right? 'Cause
like,
you were
how
a
was
first
that?
rounder.
Yes.
I mean, you were a marquee name. I mean, everybody on campus in the state of Louisiana knew who you were, right? I mean, we used to chant Eddie in the Eddie, because he was a punt and kick returner, right? You get back there. How many? I know you brought. How many? What? I don't know the numbers on.
Crud.
I mean, he would get back
know.
there. People would Eddie.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, it was great. It gave me chills. Yeah. He was an amazing kick returner. I mean, you're an amazing athlete, amazing player, but those are the days.
Yeah.
So talk to us about
Your parents probably were like this.
No, my
you-
mom, she was one of the ones that was, she was in the middle of the student section or in the crowd. So she was that mom that you could hear her voice in the stadium. Yeah.
And this
so
student section was
cool.
huge back in the day. I mean, it was crazy.
cool.
So talk to us about,
fun.
how does it feel? Obviously, you're, making that transition from college to the pros and whirlwind, right? Money, all that, the excitement, right? NFL.
Yeah.
I mean, that's an experience few. A lot of not a lot, but people play in the NFL. But there's few guys that are first rounders, right?
That's
so,
right.
So how does that feel? How does
Wow.
what was the process? Take yourself back to those days.
Wow. And if I get emotional through a story or two, you guys excuse me. The draft, at that time, it was always in New York. And when I declared for the draft, obviously the National Football League, they called and said, hey, we'd love for you to be at the draft in New York, that kind of deal, right? And I refused to go to the draft in New York because New York hasn't been there at all for my career. My family has always been in my back pocket. So we had my draft party in Lake Charles at my uncle's house because he had a bigger house than all of us. And the draft party was there at his house. And my grandfather, who was a World War II vet, was still alive at the time. And none of the grandkids, at that time had done anything or, been anywhere or created any hype for the Kennison family. So my grandfather, and I remember this more than actually being drafted, my grandfather sitting in then his recliner, we now call them lazy boys, right?
Right.
And my grandfather, he's just like this real firm, stern guy, right? You never seen him smile. You never seen him cry. You never seen facial expression. He was just like matter-of-fact guy. And when they called my name on the TV, I saw my grandfather cry.
Oh God, I can't.
And I tell you,
my
I
gosh.
can't.
Right.
I know. I would have cried.
so that was that's the greatest memory that I
Yes,
have
truly.
for that particular time. And then, I get drafted first round 18 pick and immediately St. Louis. Yeah, how about that? Right?
I'm like, that's amazing.
And I turned to my mother, after, all of the hype and the cheering, the news station were there. I turned to my mother and I said, you can officially call your job today and retire in 1996. And my mother has been retired since 1996.
I love that.
So, and then, the Rams, they called and said, hey, we need to get you in. We're going to fly you up. So they immediately booked a ticket. I flew out that afternoon to St. Louis to do press conference and all of that fun stuff. And then the career kind of took off from there.
How'd you deal with the cold?
We played indoors. So the stadium, at the time, it was called the Trans World.
Yeah, the Trans World Arena or something like that.
Dome or
Trans
something
World
like
America Dome or something like that.
Because it was an airline back then.
Yeah.
And so it was indoors, so it was fine. We had no problem. I dealt with the cold, walking in and out. It was pretty simple. But getting used to driving in snow, that was the deal. But once you get used to it, you're fine. And we did pretty good.
So you spent your career there?
So 3 years in St. Louis. Then I went on to New Orleans. If you guys can remember, New Orleans, 1998, I believe it was. Mike Ditka, he gave away all of the draft picks and got Ricky Williams.
Yep.
And I was a free agent on the team that year. And we didn't play well. So I played 1 year in New Orleans. Then I went on and I led the team in receptions and yards that year. And then New Orleans said I wasn't good enough to play on their team, so they traded me to Chicago. I go to Chicago. I play a year in Chicago. I lead the team in receptions and touchdowns, and that was like my rookie year contract. Chicago said I wasn't good enough to play on their team, so I signed a new contract with Denver, and I played in Denver for half a season. The head coach at the time, you guys can go back, I won't say any names, we didn't see eye to eye. This was still in my young career, right? My young mind.
Spunky phase.
It was my spunky. I was still a little spunky, right? So we didn't see eye to eye. And there's a backstory behind that. I won't bore you with that. We can talk about it off camera. And then I ultimately left Denver halfway through the season, and Kansas City Chiefs signed me. Dick Vermeil was the head coach at the time, and I played the rest of my career, my last 8 seasons of my 13 in Kansas City at that time. Yeah.
So neat.
How was that emotionally, or just like for your confidence jumping places and feeling like they didn't need you, or what, like, did it make you like angrier and want to work harder, or was it kind of like
Yeah, no, I'm a motivational guy. So anything that's good, bad, or indifferent, I find ways to be positive in it, with my life and my career. There's not a single person walking the face of the earth that can rattle who Eddie Kennison is, in my confidence. That's just who I am as a person.
Yeah.
That's how I was raised. Yes, don't soak in it. Don't be, soak it all in, find the good that's in it, and go be better than what's happening. And that's why I was raised.
I need you to meet my boys.
I
My goodness. Amen to that.
Right.
I mean, I feel like, the NFL is, it's wild. Like you say, like jumping like there, but there's always somebody that's like, ooh, come over here.
Right.
I'll do it. I'm like, no, not yet. It's like, it's a roller coaster.
That's right.
I feel like I don't know anyone that I know that has been in the NFL that hasn't had that roller coaster.
Yeah. Right.
It's like a wild times, and 13.
Yes.
13
Yes.
years.
Yeah, and the average is 3.4 years.
Wow.
So
You took a beating.
Ooh, you better believe it.
You took a beating.
I know. How are you today? Feeling? Well, I guess we'll get to that.
Yeah.
Your journey now, but you got to be beat up.
Yeah. I mean, every day it's a grind to be able to, to get up and get going and get moving. Ligaments and bones and joints and all of those fun things. As we get older, I mean, it's inevitable for all of us, right? I mean, you cannot prevent, longevity in life. I just, being 52 years old and playing a sport, my body feels like I'm 65. And, but to be able to, navigate through those things, and I'm sure this is a segue right into how I came to be with Rejuvime.
Yeah.
And here we are today.
Yeah. Wow.
But that's why I'm like, I know, of course, most of the football players that I see frequently, they're all O-line guys, because my husband was an O-line guy.
Big guys.
They got to get up and stretch in the morning. Like they can't, they're just like sore.
Yeah.
And it's like, you all right? He's like, right. My hip. Like.
And
Okay.
sometimes if you sneeze too hard,
Yeah, right.
You're like,
man, wait a minute, I got a cramp in my side.
I love that.
Let's jump to break.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then I want to have
wanna
another
Yeah, I want to come back and
But
talk
you're
about
like, yes.
transition out of football.
Oh,
That
sure.
me too.
Oh, yeah.
That's-
That's it.
'cause-
All right. So hang tight. We're going to be right back with Eddie as he finishes telling us his amazing story. So we'll see y'all in just a sec.
My name is Heather Robertson. I'm from Ponchatoula, Louisiana. I just recently turned 52, and I just didn't want to look like I turned 52. I have daughter-in-laws, I have daughters. We all go to the beach, and I just felt so uncomfortable, like in my bathing suit, because I had so much loose skin. Dr. Hogan and I talked about it. We did an arm lift on both of my arms. I'm so happy with the results. Don't hesitate. Step in and go for it, and just be a new you.
My name is Amber. I'm from Gum Springs, Louisiana, and I'm currently on semaglutide. I started my weight loss journey a few years prior and just kind of struggled with getting to like that final weight loss goal. I decided to get on semaglutide because I was really working towards like those last 20 pounds. Working with Rejuvime is so simple. When you really have that person that's like in your corner, like they're cheering you on, they want to see you hit those goals. I feel like I'm healthier, I'm at that wonderful weight. I just feel really confident, feel comfortable in my skin.
All right, everyone, welcome back. I know Taylor's itching to ask Eddie a question.
Yes, I just wanted to
I'm like, you're like, good. Let's take a break so I can ask a question.
continue on after football. Like this
Right.
is your life.
Right.
And then you transition from football. What does that look like emotionally,
So,
physically?
yeah, I mean, what makes you sort of step away?
Sure.
How does that feel? You know, your identity. Like I said, you know, we're chanting Eddie in the
Yeah.
Right.
in the Tiger Stadium, and you've just made, you know, at that point probably one of the most well known men from Louisiana.
Yeah.
Talk about
So
how that happens.
the transition was pretty easy for me through the National Football League, actually learning the business. It wasn't just playing football, because NFL is a business,
Right.
and learning the business or any type of business through that process. It helped me in Kansas City to I owned 5 businesses when I retired in 2008 in Kansas City, and it was a pretty easy transition because I had something to do. I had a schedule now that I could, you know, just travel around to the different, you know, business, check on everything. I wasn't able to do it at the time. My then wife did all of those fun things, so I transitioned pretty easily. I didn't have to think about what's next. I already knew that the next was already in place. So pretty easy. And then I sold the 5 businesses. This is where it kind of gets a little fuzzy for me. When I sold the 5 businesses in Kansas City and moved back to the South, now I'm like, okay, what's next? What am I going to do? I'm waking up in the morning and I'm going for a run. Okay, what's after the run? And so it really started to get cloudy, you know, trying to figure out life and try to figure out, you know, we had, you know, 2 sons, now 3, and doing their activities, but it still wasn't anything truly fulfilling for me personally. Yes, I'm dad. Yes, I showed up to every practice, every game, that kind of deal. Those were fun, but I was totally lost in trying to find what that next thing is that would fulfill that football career, that adrenaline rush. You know, I even thought about going skydiving. Crazy, right?
No.
Just for adrenaline.
Absolutely not.
It was crazy.
Absolutely not.
And
Maybe safer than returning punts.
probably right. And then I guess 5 years ago, Ed Orgeron was the head coach at LSU, and I was moving to Napa. I wanted to buy a winery. I saw that, you know, I know your favorite Chardonnay, and it's one of my absolute favorite places. So we can talk about that off camera.
Yes.
And so I was moving to Napa because I wanted to buy a vineyard. I wanted to get into growing grapes and making wine. And Ed Orgeron called me to ask me to come back to LSU to be the director of player development. And the moving truck was in Arizona. And before Ed could finish asking me, did I want that position, I said yes. I didn't know how much he was paying. I would have done it for free.
Wow.
To be back in football, to be back around the guys in the locker room, to be doing my best to make a difference in the young athletes that are coming through LSU to this day. So I moved back without hesitation to Baton Rouge.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like, stop. We're not going anywhere. We're staying here.
We're staying right here.
We're staying
That's right.
here. So
Wow.
So now that
Okay,
you're,
but back up.
Wait.
You're just like a wine connoisseur.
Wait.
Like, what's the deal with the
I know you
grapes?
said
She wants
off
the
camera,
wine.
but let's just go ahead and dig into that for a quick second.
Was that just like a gotta change the pace, gotta change it up, get out of here?
So one of my best friends, we bought 600 acres in Kansas City, and it had 30 acres of grapes on it. So who we bought the property from, they were already making wine. It's not good wine.
Right.
Yeah.
It's Midwest.
Midwest Kansas City
Midwest wine. And there's a lot of people who love it.
Oh yeah, people drink it.
Yeah, I just couldn't do it.
Yeah.
And Coach Dick Vermeil, who's one of my all-time favorite people walking the face of the earth, his grandfather moved from Italy in 1954, I believe it is, and he bought grapes and a vineyard in Calistoga, just north of Napa. So Coach Vermeil, he would always have us over to his house, drinking wine, talking about his wine, all of that fun stuff. And so I was really into it. And I guess 28 years later, I'm still into wine. And enjoying every aspect of it. And when I really got into it, I was going to Napa like 17 to 25 times a year when we bought the property, and just doing R&D. Right? And
so good.
Yeah. And so like my agent, he lives in Napa. He's on the board of Napa Valley Vintners. And, I have friends who Charles Woodson owns a vineyard, and he makes wine, and we have so many other athletes, Dwayne Wade and Gabrielle Union, husband and wife, Mario Andretti, you have so many different athletes that are in wine, and it just made sense for me to continue drinking wine, one, because of the health benefits to it, right? And get away from the other, drinking all the hard stuff and really diving into wine, because there's so many beautiful memories that go into drinking wine.
I told y'all that would be a good story. Okay.
That's it.
That was good.
And I just love that area. That area is so wonderful.
Gorgeous.
Oh my God, that's
so cool.
I remember I was at Mum in Napa watching the LSU. Josh we went on a trip. We were at Mum Napa. I'm enjoying just having like a fun time. Josh was watching the LSU Alabama game because it was the Alabama game that weekend. And I remember we were just sitting outside.
Beautiful weather.
In that beautiful November Napa weather.
Yes.
And he was sitting there with his phone watching the LSU Alabama game because I made him go on the Alabama weekend.
So are you still part of LSU's
Director of player development.
Yeah.
I am not. When Ed got released, when Brian and his staff came in, they released us all.
Yeah.
And rightfully so.
Yeah.
So I am in a position as an account executive for LSU Sports Properties. And we help bring in all the MMR, all of the marketing rights for large companies to go and market their companies through LSU athletics, through all sports. So when you hear commercials, you read game day print, you see all of the signage and everything in all of the venues in Tiger Stadium and PMAC. When you see those companies, our department, we go out and we sell all of those marketing rights.
Rights.
Which is a huge thing. I mean, it's obviously not that, in my opinion, but college is transitioning closer to the NFL, right? I mean, it really is in terms of marketing.
Unfortunately,
or fortunately for the kids, it just depends.
Yeah.
How has, in your mind, you're a product of the early '90s, right? Very strict rules. You mentioned sprinters these days make millions of dollars. Back in the day, it was very amateurish, right? I mean, not much money. How do you think it's affected the kids, and how have the kids changed, or the young men? Not
are
kids.
you talking about NIL?
Well, just everything.
Yeah,
a lot of it's changed.
Social media, and I go to the my daughter dances for Catholic high school, and so I go to the games, and after, the coach would have killed us if we ran over and all jumped in front of the camera and all posting videos, and it's all about social media after the games. They're in the locker room filming everything. It's a little. I mean, it doesn't bother me, but for me, it's like, oh my goodness,
it's different.
It's different. It's very different. Right? And kids, the world is different. It really has changed.
And I love that. For the kids, for the exposure, for the payments that they receive for NIL deals.
Right.
I mean, we looked at, those things when we were in school. We were like, man, if I had $100, I can go eat, tonight on a Sunday during the day when the cafeteria was closed. Yep. If I can get $100 to go eat somewhere. So we had to go through the process for them to be where they are today. So I'm absolutely ecstatic about the things that they're receiving and the notoriety that they're receiving, and understanding what their name, image, and likeness is truly about. and they've recognized it. And more importantly, even women's sports have grown to a point where these women are phenomenal athletes, always have been, and they're being recognized for their talents and everything. So I love every aspect of it. There's one thing that I would ask, the NCAA or SEC, whoever to do, is go back and pay the guys, from the early 90s, NIL deals.
The ones that paved the way.
You made a lot of money for LSU back in the day. I can guarantee you that.
The ones that paved the way. Walked so you could run.
That's right. That's exactly what happened. Yeah, so I love every aspect of it.
Yeah.
I'm so happy for them. Yeah,
that's good.
Yeah, I think it's way different. It's just different now. I think that, like you said, just that notoriety that they're able to get. These guys do work really hard.
Oh, yeah.
They bust their butts like multiple times a day to do it and to be able to be recognized for that. I also think that it's starting to give them, if it's done appropriately and correctly, like NIL and everything, like you said, it gives them kind of a little taste of what it would be like managing business wise. Like that you have to manage that stuff. You can't just be like, oh, I just have like all of this money now. It's like there's a part of it that they have to learn the business aspect of it as well.
right.
Yeah.
I think, NILSU has done like a really good job.
Yes.
I feel like helping student athletes in that aspect.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And LSU has done a great job,
Yeah.
like you said. And, they bring in the athletes now that they have like an entire, NIL department. And for the athletes to be able to go in and talk business and talk structure of contracts and read contracts and being able to understand language and really getting those young athletes to put their money in, investing and what to do with it and how
that's
to
good
do
to
it.
hear.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
They have a whole thing.
That's good.
Yeah.
Well, and I think the other thing, so I don't interview a whole lot of professional athletes, so obviously. But I loved how you kind of talked about, you left LSU because you disagreed with the coach, right? And then you left some of the NFL positions, right? Because and I think the transfer portal with the combo of NIL gives these kids the ability to say, hey, I didn't sign up with this guy that's now here, right? And hey, this guy's not recognizing my talents, right? And I think there have been coaches at LSU that have not, you'll have these guys that maybe played a little bit at LSU and then go on to be these incredible professional athletes, right? Because their talents weren't recognized. So I think it gives athletes, because, you deal if you have kids growing up and have a coach in high school that's, not treating them correctly or, and I realize life is a journey, but I think it gives athletes an opportunity to change, right? Or make that choice to say, hey, back in the day, you may not have left college. You may have transferred to another school for a year, right? I mean, you came out the first round, so it's not, you did well. But, for some of those kids that, don't have that opportunity.
Well, I think it also gives them the opportunity to learn from other coaches.
Yeah, I agree.
If it's not, if it's not something that you and, that specific coach is doing good, then you have the opportunity.
Because you've been referenced, one of your favorite guys is Dick Vermeil, your coach. And so I think these coaches and men influence these kids, as they transition through college, and even young professional athletes, I'm sure, are impressionable.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and we use the word transition, and Doc, you used that a few times during our conversation. Is the transition it's real, whether you stay all 4 years or you stay a semester and you move on. It's how you transition and what you get from the next person that can help build you up as the young athlete, not only for school or for that particular sport, but getting them ready for life. And, that was one of the reasons why I was so quick to say yes to come back, because I would love to be a part of that transition for our young athletes from high school into college, graduating college into the next career after college. I just think that is so crucial. And a lot of young athletes, as we know, they don't always have the parents or the coaching or the mentoring to help steer them in the right direction that they're going. And I think life is so beautiful. Our kids, as we were kids, and we needed direction. And here we are today. And I think our younger generation absolutely needs that as well.
Yeah, they're real spunky.
Yeah, they're spunky.
Yeah, they're real spunky. They're real spunky.
So I guess we have to now transition to the real real talk.
Now, real talk. So like I said, you got 13 seasons under your belt and you got beat up.
Right.
It was I can't imagine. Like you said, 300, 400-pound guy. Like, just
high school, college, 13 seasons in the NFL.
Just,
wide receiver, racking up yards, returning punts, returning kicks.
I mean, everything.
What were you prior to Rejuvime, prior to what were you feeling like?
Right.
Why did you even seek anything?
Sure. So as we get experienced in age, right? And in particularly my body, I'll talk about me. I was at the point in the last 4 years, and I would even say in the last, year, that my body really, really started to change. I was out, I was exercising, 4 days, 5 days a week sometime, just to make sure that, I don't gain weight or my blood pressure don't go up, or all of these things that our body does as we get older. I felt a change. And one morning I woke up, y'all, and no one knows this story and how this actually happened. I woke up one morning and I had the most ungodly chill through my entire body from head to toe. And I got so dizzy when I stood up out of bed, I would have fell over if I didn't sit back down on the bed. That's how scary it was, and I had no idea what was going on. I thought about what I ate the night before. I didn't have anything to drink or anything like that. It was just this weird feeling. And I think a day later, Doc, you and I, we have a mutual friend who called me, and you guys were looking for a former LSU athlete to help with the marketing of Rejuvime.
Yeah.
And I was a little hesitant at first when he called me. I mean, I don't know what this is. I don't know what's going on.
Yep.
So he sent me the information about Rejuvime, and I read through all of the things that you guys offer. And I was like, if I felt that way a day ago, this is a God sent thing, because
truly.
if this can do exactly what you guys say that it can do, what do I have to lose? I don't want to feel that way again. I have a 12-year-old son that I'm raising. He's here with me full time.
Right.
And if I don't change or do something different that will help me be a better person, be a better dad, be a better everyday guy, then I don't know what will happen. I was taking different medications, that my doctor prescribed, for sleep, for joint recovery, for muscle recovery, and I was taking these prescription medications that I didn't like the way they made me feel all the time. I mean, there's sometimes I just felt like, oh man, this is horrible, but I have to take it because I want to feel better.
Right.
So when that call came in, I looked at all of the information and I said, okay, I'm gonna give it a shot. And I think it was Carrie who I called and said, all right, I'll give this a try. I had nothing to lose.
Let's do it.
Y'all, let me tell you, and I'm sure you're going to get into this at some point. We went through she drew my blood. We did all of the blood work and all that fun stuff. And my numbers came back. And, I didn't never look at numbers the way I looked at them when I did my consultation.
Right.
And I'll just tell you one number. My testosterone level, I think it's supposed to be between 650 and 8 something, right? I was at 248.
Yeah.
And when we went through the consultation, we went through all of my numbers, and everything was in the tank.
Right.
Everything. And I was like, this is why I'm feeling it. And, I was
wow.
starting to gain weight in my midsection. I don't care if I ran 15 miles a day. That was not going away. I was like, what am I doing?
Yeah. Right.
I mean, and we're in the Southwest Louisiana, right? So all of the foods that we eat, I was eating clean. I was eating healthy majority of the time, 5-6 days a week, eating healthy throughout my meals. And that belly fat and all of that would just not go away. So I do all my consultation. I start my my peptides and my injections here. And within 1 month, y'all, I promise you, within 1 month, I said, I'm in this for life. I'm in it for life.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It's a game changer.
Yeah.
People don't understand that when you are fighting for your life, you try to find something to get beyond what that is. Rejuvime and what you offer here, it was a game changer for me. That's life-changing, life-altering. When I wake up now, I'm telling you, my energy level, I'll back up. I did my second consultation, my blood work and everything, and all of my numbers had jumped expeditiously. And they were in the realm of where they needed to be. I was back in balance, and I knew I was because I felt better.
Right.
And I woke up in the morning. I was able to do things, go out for a walk, go out for a run. I lost 10 pounds without like really trying. I was just doing the things that I was doing, and I lost 10 pounds. And if you look at this 52-year-old guy 8 weeks ago, you'd be like, hey, dude, you need to do something else. If you look at this 52-year-old guy today, if I pull my shirt off, you'd be like, you're 52?
You'd be like, dang.
Right. What you
I'm
doing?
saying? Yeah.
What you doing?
That is
I love
amazing.
that.
Yeah.
Because I think that's where we were talking the other day about, I was talking to some friends of mine who were talking about how sometimes the medicine that we do has a negative connotation around it. And I mean, it's something that we always talk about. And I agree. Like back in the day, I do think, testosterone therapy and all that kind of stuff, had this negative connotation around it.
Right.
But now, when it's used appropriately,
that's right,
in the appropriate situation, like your situation, and it gives you that feeling, that get up and go, the wake up, I feel myself again, all that kind of stuff. It's like, that's how it's appropriately used. It's great if it's done appropriately.
Yeah.
And it's like, and he was the perfect candidate for that.
Right.
And yes, those nurse practitioners down there, I absolutely adore them. They're a
awesome.
mess. I'm like, Mariah and Rosalind are a mess.
Yes.
But no, they're so wonderful in being able to help you with that journey. And they'll be with you forever, on that. But just to see your transformation has been so fun.
Right.
It's been so fun to watch.
Oh, and I mean, just overall everything. I mean, the few that I do take, my injections, I enjoy going to the office and getting my injections. I mean, some people say, let me tell you something. When you can say I can get, I could be in the office for 10 minutes and get, my injections, and I walk out and I know I'm going to feel better, from this day moving forward. Right. Brother, I'm showing up at the office like on Wednesdays at 8:30. I'm like waiting for them to open the door. They open at 8:30. I'm like, hello, Doc, I may need my key. I'll be in there waiting for them when they get there.
I'll get you a code to the door, Eddie. I'll get you one.
Eddie's opening the office.
That's perfectly.
Well,
that's okay.
and I think, as you were in such, a professional athlete, amazing athlete, somebody who's performed at the highest level, right? And then when that, and beating your body up, right? You pushed your body to the limit, for years, right?
Right.
And then, the aging process occurs. You slow down in terms of, your regimen. Obviously, you can't continue to perform at that level. And I think especially evident in patients that are highly in tune with their bodies, like you are, right? You made a living, from your body, and that dramatic fall can be physical, emotional, everything, right? And then bringing you back up can have such a dramatic effect.
I want you to touch a little bit how you talk about professional athletes have more of it. You know how you talk about like the medical side of it.
Yeah, you'll see, professional athletes will run a higher testosterone levels. They'll run. There's all kind of things that drives the body and makes the body better, sort of, or perform better, right? And I think a professional athlete or a high level athlete needs more. That you need that higher level to function. And I think when you perform it so high for so long and then you stop, and there's an inevitable drop with aging and just change in your career, I think the downslope can be huge, right?
More dramatic for a higher
for somebody who never really performed at that level, and it's a slow, gradual decline, as opposed to in the category you're in, where you are so high at that level, your body's functioning, producing things that high levels of hormones and high levels of these enzymes and peptides, and then it just drops. And I think it could be physical and emotional.
Right.
Yeah.
And it was for me. It was physical and emotional.
Right.
You hear about like depression, right? And in particularly, everyone probably will battle some form of depression at some point. But there was a point in the last year where I actually had to go and research what depression really was.
Right.
I had to go research it.
Right.
Yeah, you think you know what it is. You can say, oh, yeah, I'm depressed. But do you really understand what depression is and what you have to go through? Because you just don't wake up one morning and say, oh, I'm depressed.
Yeah.
It's a cycle. Right. And so at the end of my research in looking up depression, there is a survey, like a 15-question survey to say, answer these, and if you're here, then you're depressed. If you're here, you're not. You're kind of in the middle. Well, out of 15 questions, I was depressed on every single one. And you have to be honest with yourself when answering these questions. You can't just say, oh, yeah, I'm okay. You can say, yes, I'm here, or I'm here, or I'm here.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I was in the tank through and through.
Right.
Just thinking about life every day. And now, like, my mood, y'all, when I tell you, I wasn't angry, and I had to catch myself at times, like when I get ready to speak, like to my son and loving, or speak to friends, like I had to change my tone because I was getting ready to be spunky again.
Yeah, be spunky.
I was getting back to spunky.
You getting back to old spunky Eddie.
Oh man! And I tell you, like through the last 8 weeks, that my mood and like my thought process and everything has totally changed. I'm back who I think Eddie Kennison really is, and that's that loving friend, that loving dad.
What a blessing.
Son.
It makes me emotional.
Yeah.
I know, because I'm like, every time, like, I don't know, I've run into Eddie probably like 10 times since he started. I heard Rejuvime just in all the different places, and it's just like such a ray of sunshine. Like every time I see you, you're such a ray of sunshine.
Aww.
I was talking to Hester yesterday, and he was like, "Isn't Eddie just the nicest guy?" He was like, "He is so great." I'm like, I know. I was like, I know. It's like, he's always such a ray of sunshine. I'm like, I know the girls down in Baton Rouge, they say it as well. Eddie's so nice, and he's always happy.
And you said something earlier, you radiate positivity, and you changed all of those hardships to that military focused, positive
that
mindset
background that you've got.
I love that. I love that this worked out for you.
It's so fun.
I know, it's just like, it's one of those things, like you said, the way you were feeling in the day after, getting that phone call, it's like, this is it. This is a sign.
This is it.
I should do this.
I have a friend. He feels like crap. He's an ex-athlete. He's depressed. What's your motivation to them?
Sure.
What's their hope?
One is really understanding, are you there? And if you say you're this, then okay, let's figure out our next steps. There's no wait. There's like, oh, let's just wait until tomorrow. If one of my friends, and they have, come to me since this process has started, they've seen the commercials.
Because they're like, Eddie, what are you doing?
What are you doing?
Yeah.
What are you doing, Eddie? Yep.
So I'm like, okay, let's figure this out right now. Let's get the information in your hand, and you take a survey. You take, the point of where you are. And what are our next steps? How fast can we get you from here to here? And if you're ready, then let's go now.
Yeah.
Let's figure this out now. Let's not wait until tomorrow. We're just procrastinators naturally, right? And figure this out right now. Let's get you in the door. Let's figure out where your levels are, and let's get you connected to the right nurse practitioners that are in or wherever city or whatever. And let's get you started to get you feeling better. Because one, if you're married, your wife needs you. Two, your kids need you if you have children. Your family needs you. And you need you more than anything.
Yeah, truly.
And let's get you back to feeling better. Because I know if it can work for me, it can work for anybody.
Yeah.
It can work for anybody.
I love that.
Yeah.
So good.
I love that.
And life ain't over at 52.
Life is not over at 52,
not.
brother. That's right.
52's young.
It's the second half. That's it. Second act.
It's the second act.
We're in the late part of the third quarter right now.
There you go.
I like that.
There you go.
I like that.
We're about to get ready for fourth quarter, getting wild.
Wow. What
that.
a pleasure.
Yeah.
You are
It's been awesome.
Eddie,
truly.
thank you so much for joining us today. We are so happy that you got back to the not quite the spunky Eddie.
Right.
I don't want to go back to spunky Eddie.
But getting back to where you wanted to be.
Yeah.
I love that. I absolutely love that. And you are such a ray of sunshine. Every time I see you, you are always smiling, always happy. I absolutely love that. Thank you so much for joining us, and thanks for telling us all your backstory. I'm so intrigued. I'm like,
Eddie.
I love that.
Yeah. Well, thank y'all for having me, and thank y'all for allowing me to be a part of your team. I love team members and teammates, especially when it's all positive things that can come from it. And I'm not just talking about the medication that I'm taking. I'm talking about, Doc, you've created a beautiful staff here, not just in this office, but across the board. Every person that I've run into and come in contact with, they've been absolutely, absolutely phenomenal, brother. So, Doc, great job.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Thank God for putting this on your heart, brother, and starting it when you did.
Yeah. Truly.
I know.
appreciate
I
you.
love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
So good.
I know. I'm like, well, guys, we'll be back here next week. Remember, follow us, like, subscribe.
Subscribe below.
YouTube, Spotify, Apple, all of the places where you get your podcast. Make sure to follow us on Instagram, TikTok, all the social media stuff there, because apparently Taylor's got some like super funny clips. It's super funny short clips in there for y'all to check out. And remember to always stay curious, always stay informed, and remember to always consult before you cut. We'll see you guys next week.